I'm Cass, and in today's video I'll be setting up the very last bullet journal theme for 2021, which is crazy to say because that means next year will mark my 5th year bullet journaling, which is just mind-blowing. And if you're new here, first off, hello and welcome. I hope you decide to stick around. And second of all, I'm kind of a nerd if the books in the background weren't enough of a clue for you. So I like to do bullet journal themes that are a bit more unconventional than what is typically found in the bullet journaling community. I know a lot of people are doing like holiday or Christmas bullet journal themes, but I decided to do Pixar's Brave because I love that movie. And last month I did How to Train Your Dragon and I drew some Celtic knots, which was really fun and not at all challenging or headache inducing in the slightest. And so I thought, why not do that again? And I am so happy with how this theme came out. It was definitely time consuming and a wee bit challenging for sure, but I really love the movie and the message behind the movie. Makes me cry every time. So be sure if you're planning with me, you grab your bullet journal and stationery and let's hop into the voiceover.
Hello, and welcome back to yet another bullet journal setup. Like I said in the intro, this month's theme is based after Pixar's Brave. I swore off doing holiday themes back in 2019 after 2 in a row disastrously ugly Christmas themed setups, but I still wanted this theme to fit the vibe of the holidays. That's why for this month's color palette, I stuck with a bunch of light blues. For my cover page, I drew the scene shown on the tapestry at the end of the movie, but I simply changed the colors to only be shades of blue. I was a bit hesitant at first when deciding if I liked how it looked or not, but after completing the entire page, I was satisfied. As for my calendar, I outlined a big grid that is spaced out to have 5 dots contained on the inside of the boxes. I stuck with outlining the calendar using a color, which I've been doing since August and really love how it looks. In case you're wondering about what supplies I'm using, I have 3 main markers, 2 Tombow Fudenoski brush pens with the codes 451 and 452, and the third blue I use is actually a Zebra mild liner highlighter. I just used the lightest blue that I could find. As for pens, I mostly stuck with using my Artist Loft liners in .05 and .5. And then for any calligraphy I did, I used my Tombow Fudenoski hard tip brush pen because a lot of the calligraphy was quite small and I didn't want to use the soft tip brush pen. On my calendar page, I leave room on the right for any additional notes that I might need to jot down, as well as a social media growth tracker for my Instagram and YouTube as a little motivational booster. Along the bottom, I wrote out December again in the same font I'll be using throughout the entirety of my setup, which is based on the Aeon Kari Celtic font. And again, I added snow to literally everything because maybe this is my way to manifest snow here in Texas. Please don't crush my unrealistic dreams, okay? In the corner, I drew a Celtic knot and around it added another movie quote, this one reading, "Legends are lessons, they ring with truth." My habits and mood tracking page is always my least favorite to make because it involves a ton of creating boxes and a ton of writing words using the time-consuming font I choose each month. And this month was no exception. I turned the page and literally sighed. The quote for this page is such an iconic scene in the movie and it reads, actually, let Merida read it to you.
I am Merida, firstborn descendant of Clan Dunbrog, and I'll be shooting for my own hand.
I don't have much else to say about this page specifically, other than how tedious it was. I really would love to make this page not as time-consuming, not only to outline, but sketching also takes forever and a day. And I think the easiest solution would just be to trim down the amount of habits I track, since I do seem to track an excessive amount of habits. But it works for me and it keeps me on track, which is the whole point of the spread. Plus, I like to have 1 or 2 habits that I know I'll do every day for I at least can fill in something. I'm going to be honest, all the Celtic knots that I drew throughout this spread, I don't know if they have any specific meaning attached. They were the ones that I found that looked complex enough to be impressive when I drew them, but not impossible enough to where my head starts spinning the second I try to recreate it onto my own journal. Also threw in a bit of washi tape in the bottom because there was a weird amount of space under the Celtic knot that I wanted filled. Next are two very functional pages, so in order to be functional, I can't decorate the page too much, or else I wouldn't have any room for the actual trackers. On the left is my finance tracker, which is pretty self-explanatory. I track my finances. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend you make one, especially for December, because you definitely need to keep track of how much money you spend on people during the holidays. A little bit here and there can add up, and you want to be able to still afford your bills come January. I wrote my headers and added yet another Celtic knot. Surprise, surprise. My highlights page is also straightforward. This time I split the center with a longer Celtic knot design and wrote the word highlights in the center. Then I alternated the two lighter blues to create lines to write my actual highlight of the day on. Pages are my stats page where I write books I've read, music I've played on loop, shows and movies I watch or binge, and YouTube videos or channels I'm into watching. Another simplistic spread where I just did a circular Celtic knot. Since I'm filming this setup so late, I already have a show to add onto this tracker, and that is actually Demon Slayer. I originally wanted to watch My Hero Academia, which is what I typically have been watching while filming my bullet journal setups, because I really like the English voice actors, but unfortunately, Hulu doesn't have the dubbed version for season 5 out, so instead I stuck on the dubbed version of Demon Slayer, which doesn't have the best English voice actors in my opinion, but it's still keeping me into the show. I feel like I like to mention what shows I watch during my bullet journal setups as a little time capsule to look back on and see what I was into each month. It's kind of cool. The very last page is a gifts received and gifts given. I created this page in my first ever bullet journal and have done it year after year, and is one of my favorite spreads to look back on in December. I love seeing who gifted me what item and how vastly the gifts that I receive change from year to year as I grow older. For example, 4 years ago, I was receiving a lot of merch for animes and books, and now I am much more adulty and I'm asking for more practical things that I can actually use.
Welcome to the Crafty Carver, home of bear-themed carvings and novelties. I am completely out of stock at this time, but if you'd like to inquire about portraits or wedding cake toppers, pour vial 1 into the cauldron. If you'd like the menu in Gaelic, vial 2. If you're that red-haired lass, vial 3.
And here is a final look at my last setup for 2021, my December bullet journal themed around Pixar's Brave, with the added effect of everything being heavily drenched in snow. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to go rewatch the movie. Again.
Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. There are a few things I want to mention before I go. First off, I've got a bullet journal Instagram where I post bullet journal spreads that I've made. Can you believe it? And I also have an Etsy shop where I sell stickers and art prints that are usually bookish related. And that is it. I really hope you enjoyed and found some inspiration from this setup, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Toodles!